I'm going to tell you a riddle at the end of this one. Problem number 2. An artifact originally had 20 grams of carbon-14 present. Okay, let's see. How many grams of carbon? Alright. So we have less information than we had last time. We don't actually get a formula, so we're going to have to come up with our own. So if 20 grams were initially present, then n sub 0 is 20. How many grams of carbon-14 will be present in 8,243 years? So we want T equals 8,243, and how many grams? So n equals what? But then K equals also what? So we've got a bit of an issue that we haven't had before. If carbon-14 has a half-life of 5,600 years, okay, so here's the deal. You're going to take that information about the half-life, because that's going to help you figure out what K is. So the half-life information, carbon-14 has a half-life of 5,600 years. Okay, and so let's just take that. And remember when we were dealing with doubling time and tripling time, where just remember what we did before. So we had A over P equals 2 for doubling time. Okay, and then we had tripling time. I think I may have mentioned that we're going to be doing something like half-life in the next section. Well, here we are, half-life. So half-life would be, let's make sure we have the concept here. Half-life would mean that the ratio of n to n sub 0, so you start with n sub 0, and then you end up with half of what you started with. So n over n sub 0 is 1/2. Okay, so just for example, if we started with n sub 0 equals 100, then n would be equal to 50. When you have 50 equals 100 times e to the kt, you divide by 100, right? And when you divide by 100, that 50 over 100 is going to be 1/2. So you can start with 1,000, that would be 500. And no matter what, when you divide by the n sub 0, you get 1/2. The n over n sub 0 is 1/2. And so hopefully that's a concept that you will remember, and so that you don't get confused when you just see the words half-life and that kind of thing. So the half-life being 5,600 years, that helps us figure out what K is. So that's a very important piece of information. So first thing you want to do is to find K. Use the half-life formula. So half-life equals e to the k times whatever the half-life is. All right. So the half-life is 5,600. Okay. Now there's a formula possibly in your book that says what the half-life is, but it's really easy to figure out what K is based on this concept here. Just let 1/2 equal e to the kt, whatever t is, that's how you're going to find your K. So you have ln of 1/2 equals, remember the ln of e to anything, those ln of e, that ln of e cancels out both the ln and the e, and we just get 5,600 times k, and then we want to just go ahead and divide both sides by 5,600, and we get our value for k. And I'm going to stop you here, ask you to get your calculator out, because we're going to store that value. Okay. In fact, I like to store it in alpha A. So the K is this, and let's go ahead and store that. All right. Show you how to do that again. We have the ln of 1/2. I just put 0.5 in there. Divide that by 5,600 equals. Now, what did I tell you before? I told you that K is going to be negative when the population is decreasing, and half-life means that the population of whatever is going to be decreasing. And so negative 1.238 is our value for K, but don't just write that down and use that approximation. You want to store this value. Actually, it's times e to the -4, so it's really negative 0.0001, so it's a very small number. Anyway, we're going to store that in alpha A and enter. So again, do not use the rounded, don't round this number and then use that number. Make sure you store that. Okay, so we're going to store that in alpha A, and then we just have to write the A every time we're going to use that. So the K, we have that finally And so there's our k. And now we're going to plug in our k then to find our value for n. So we have this equation, n equals n sub 0 times e to the k times t. And we can see that t goes there, n sub 0 goes there, and we have our k, and again I'm going to just put that in a box so that I can use that. That's the value that we just stored in a. So we get n equals, now we're just going to plug all that into the calculator, and let's go ahead and do that. 20 multiplied by e to the alpha a times 8,243. And we should get 7.2098, so it's really 7.21. 7.21 what? And it says how many grams? So that's grams. Okay, 7.21 grams. And there we go. Good job. Oh, let's see. Alright, here's a riddle. A man was telling me on a particular occasion, the day before yesterday I was 35 years old, and next year I will turn 38. How can that be? The day before yesterday I was 35 years old, and next year I will turn 38. How can this be? Pause the video if you don't want to hear it. Okay, sorry, if you want to think about it before you answer it. And anyway, here's the answer. The man was speaking on January 1st. So 2 days ago he was 35. His birthday is on the 31st of December. So 2 days ago he was 35. Yesterday he turned 36. This year, which is the year he's speaking in, January 1st, this year he's turning 37. That's at the end of the year. And next year he's going to turn 38. So there you go.